And also, SEALFAB has stated that they would do most of the chemical transport at night, which is probably more of a requirement or just a common sense. Not because of traffic, well, because of traffic, because there's more chance of an accident, but to do it at night when the roads are empty.
And maybe the gentleman that's on the school board, do we know if the school district is involved? Like, can we get them more involved with protesting this?
So I've spoken with many members of the school board. They have had a lot of issues with York County, as a lot of organizations and entities that we've discovered through all this process in Rock Hill and Fort Mill have had other issues with York County. So they have their own things. I can tell you that every member of the school board that I've talked to is against this, as well as every member of Fort Mill I've spoken to in this whole fight is against this. I've not spoken to one person who lives within a 7-mile radius who's not against this. I am actively pushing them to, and there is a potential that they may hire an outside firm to do a risk analysis of their own. That is a potential that we're seeking, but yeah, they're against it.
Well, I just asked because I have, like all of the principals,
Yep.
and they're all just kind of like, oh, that sounds terrible. I'm like, can we like
I
send
know.
out a blast to everybody? And like,
I went before the school board probably a year ago, and just basically said, please hire a third-party consultant to show that you have done everything in your power to protect the children and the heroes that teach them. Their response, I'm going to give you an analogy. You heard the fox is in charge of the hen house. You don't ask the fox if the hens are going to be okay. Okay, so to ask SEALFAB for facts and truth is not a third party. And even to DHEC. So what we were asking the school board to do was to get an outside consultant. You don't have to listen to us, but don't listen to them. I mean, get somebody truly third party that doesn't have a dog in the fight. And they have yet to do that. So maybe they will.
And then lastly, this is more just a comment, but I don't think that the 501c3 information is easily visible for the Citizens Alliance.
We're not a 501c.
That's not, okay.
You can be a nonprofit, tax exempt, or just a nonprofit. I understand we're just a nonprofit corporation right now.
Gotcha.
We're not trying to get 501c.
Number.
We're not that big. All right. Thank you.
To make a correction about the Institute for Justice website, it's ij.org.
Oh, ij.org. Okay. Thank you.
Hey guys, good afternoon. It's Cam, Andy. My name is David Martin.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, nice to meet you. I've lived on this side of Fort Mill my whole life, my whole family. My grandmother's house is right down the street on 21, right here on Nation Ford Road. I live over on Waterside, so obviously this side of Fort Mill means a lot to me. I've met with Scott a couple times about coming up with ideas of how I can potentially help. I spoke to a top tort lawyer. I'm a lawyer here in Fort Mill as well. Worked a bunch of cases with him over the years. And one thing that the tort lawyer mentioned is to potentially reach out to conservation groups, to have those guys do studies on the waterfowl, even something so much as snails and pipes within the ground, and how that affects them, which is something I've never heard of. Have we done any type of reach out to conservation groups just to check the studies and see if anything can be done? I've heard they will come in and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on litigation to support the cause. And so if you guys haven't looked into that, I'm happy to help out, reach out to them as well, and see how we can get that started. Has that been a possibility, or has anybody looked into that?
I think it would be, yeah.
I call the national, I think it's called the South Carolina National Resources. Sorry to answer your question.
No, thank you.
I actually reached out to the South Carolina,
Mike.
the South Carolina Human Resources Company.
Department of Natural Resources.
Thank you, Andy. Yes.
Yes.
That would be the one.
That would be their jurisdiction.
And I asked about snails, I asked about any species that they could come up with that could be endangered or marshlands that are indigenous, meaning that they like cause harm, that they want to know about, but they're not endangered. So I think, I don't know, yes, this is to their knowledge, that that's not a route we can go to, unfortunately. Thanks for your question.
We have engaged with an environmental group. I think we're going to be talking to them Wednesday. Clean Air NC. They haven't crossed the line into South Carolina yet, but they're anxious to do so. They're a nonprofit on the Charlotte side of the line, and they're excited about jumping in and seeing what they can do to help us.
Can I add?
Yeah.
The Southeastern Environmental Law Project is a huge nonprofit, and they have a whole lot of lobbyists. And I told Scott this, I talked to one of the associates last Tuesday, and he took down all the information. They were in litigation, they were in court all week, and he said that on last Friday, he was taking it to the top lawyers immediately, because this was one of the biggest things that they hadn't heard of yet. And he said that if they can't take on our project, that they would be happy to give funding or show us where to go.
Okay.
So I'm waiting to hear from that hopefully this week.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The last thing I want to add is thank you, Cam, for taking on this. Being a plaintiff's lawyer, I understand on cases like this, you potentially spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. There was an event in Tyler Ridge where the public servant made the comment that he's not willing to pitch any money towards the cause. I am, and I'm happy to help out. And so we'll get in touch with Scott on Monday. Anything that I can do to help out, and this goes to everybody else in the room, even if it's make a call to a conservation group. I'm obviously not a public servant at this time, yet politician, whatever you want to call it. But if I can ever help out with you guys or anybody else in the room, please feel free to reach out to me. So.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.